What is up, YouTube? We're back with another YouTube video. We're here with a Season of the Witch Legend Lost Sector guide, and you can see it's for Sepulcher. This one you can find on the Throne World. You can see Court of Savathun, the Throne World. When you look at your destinations tab, it's in this lower left hand side. Spawn in here at the Quagmire, and then you can make your way if you have the little mini map ping, but I'll show you how to get there just in case if you haven't explored it yet. Now you're going to want to make your way here, and again, the path is pretty easy to follow, but I'll just show you just in case if you aren't that familiar. Now we're going to work our way through here, and then again we're just going to follow this path that goes straight. That's going to end off going to the left. Once you make the left here and you go straight down, you will go into the fluorescent canal. So just keep going this way. Now you can see we've entered the fluorescent canal. It's gonna say it. Okay, I don't know why I didn't say it yet, but we have entered it. Now we're gonna go over here, and pretty much all you want is to go towards this middle area, then drop right here, and it's gonna be right under this little, I don't even know what to call it, I guess cave area. But when you go here, if you don't see this flag or this icon here on your map, that means you have to complete the Lost Sector normally in order to unlock Legend and Master difficulty. So you're going to want to drop through here, and then you're going to work your way inside until you see it says Sepulcher on the left corner of your screen. You can see it says it right there, Sepulcher. And then when you run into this bright room, there's going to be some AI. Fight your way through the rest of the Lost Sector. Kill all the enemies, kill the boss, loot the chest at the end, and you'll unlock Legend and Master difficulty for this Lost Sector. But now that I've shown you that, I'm going to work my way back outside. That way we can go over the modifiers. And you can see we've just entered Fluorescent Canal again. And I'm going to jump up here. Now to go over our modifiers, our first one is Shielded Foes. You'll face combatants with Arc and Solar Shields. Legend modifiers, Locked Loadout and Extra Shields. Equipment Locked, Limited Revives. Barrier and Unstoppable Champions. We have Solar Threat, 25% increase to incoming solar damage. Fire Pit, when defeated, Acolytes spawn fire pools that cause damage over time. Overcharged Weapons, weapon overcharges from the seasonal artifact are active in this activity. Kinetic weapons do increased damage when your subclass element matches an active surge. So we are going to be taking advantage of this as well for our Malfeasance, just because we're going to be using Strand subclass, and when you match any of these two subclasses, your kinetic weapon will do increased damage. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now for Strand, and you can see Strand Surge, 25% bonus to outgoing Strand damage, and then Arc Surge, 25% bonus to outgoing Arc damage. Then Overcharged Fusion Rifle, which is a 25% bonus to Fusion Rifle damage. And then if completed solo, Exotic Chest Armor is rare, Enhancement Cores are uncommon, and recommended power is 1830. But 1810 you should be just fine if you just follow the video. But now that we've gone over this, we're going to go into the loadout. So you can see I'm running Strand for my subclass. You can see Silk Strike. And I'm running Marksman Dodge with Triple Jump, Threaded Spike, Threadling Grenades, and then Widow Silk with Threaded Spectre. Now for my fragments, I'm running Thread of Generation, Thread of Evolution, Thread of Binding, and Thread of Continuity. Now when it comes to my weapons, again, use whatever you're comfortable with, use whatever you want. This is not the only loadout that you can use for this. Make tweaks when necessary. Again, do whatever you want. But for my first weapon here, Malfeasance, and this is great for Unstoppable Champions. That way you don't have to use Scout Rifle or have to worry about anything else when it comes to stunning Unstoppable Champions. But this is just going to make it super easy, one weapon for it. And Malfeasance, in my opinion, is just an overall good weapon. And if you have the Catalyst, it's going to be even better. As you can see, I have it, so it's increased damage against bosses, vehicles, and guardians. And I do believe this does count for champions, so it might be increased damage for champions. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe that might be the case. Now, when it comes to Malfeasance, like I said, really good for Unstoppable Champions, so that's why I'm going to be running this. Now for my secondary slot, Shadow Price Auto Rifle, it's Arc, and I just recommend any Arc Auto Rifle. Doesn't exactly have to be this one. And if you do use an Arc Auto Rifle, I recommend one with a large magazine, preferably 30 plus rounds, just because when it comes to going against barrier champions, in my opinion, they're probably one of the more annoying ones, just because you can do all that damage, and if you don't have a weapon to break their shield, they're always going to fully heal up every single time. And let's say I'm getting shot at by another group of enemies and I start flinching because the AoE effects and everything, and I miss a couple shots. That's the difference between either stunning the champion to finish the kill or missing every single shot and then the champion goes back to full health. So that's why I recommend a large magazine. You can see I have a backup mag on mine, which brings it to 45 rounds in the magazine. And again, it's pretty useful. You don't really see me miss out on stunning the champion, to be honest. So I credit that for the shadow price. But when it comes to my heavy slot, circular logic, strand, weapon, and if you can get this, I recommend trying to go for hatchling, just because precision final blows are rapidly defeating targets with non-precision weapons spawn thralling at that target's location, and it's really useful. It's just, think of it as extra damage, and the nanotech tracer rockets are also pretty good. I do have a backup mag, that way we can have more ammo, and again, with the strand damage boost, that's going to be very important here. So we're going to deal extra damage with this, and we're also going to deal extra damage with the arc weapon boost, so keep that in mind. But when it comes to my armor, for my helmet, access to assets, gain bonus super energy on grenade kills, I have 2 kinetic siphon mods. That way I'm only using malfeasance, and you can see it in the gameplay. I'm solely using this most of the time, and I'm only using the arc auto rifle to break shields on the barrier champion. And then circular logic is also being used, but that's either to do increased damage or worrying about bosses or champions or anything like that. So my main weapon is malfeasance, so every time I get kills, I'm going to be generating orbs with it. And then when it comes to my arms, firepower, which is your grenade final blows create orbs of power, grenade kickstart, and then fastball. You don't really need fastball if you don't have to put it on. You can see I only have 1 extra slot, and this is the only thing I could put in there, so I just figured why not throw it on. But then grenade kickstart is when your grenade energy is fully expended, you gain grenade energy. Additionally, your armor charge is consumed and you gain additional grenade energy for each stack. Now for my chest piece, I'm running solar damage resistance and arc damage resistance. Now this is artifice armor, so you can see I have a 3rd slot here, which is solar damage resistance, and I have 2 solar just because there's a lot of solar damage here. The solar damage is increased. The barrier knights do solar damage, the acolytes drop solar damage, and there's a light bearer that's going to end up doing solar damage as well. So even with these mods, I still end up dying a lot in the recording, prior to the recording I should say, not in the actual one that you're going to see. But it was super annoying just dealing with the light bearer one. But then arc damage resistance, just because of the moths and everything. If you want, you can swap this out for the void, just because of the ogres that you're going to run into. But whatever you decide to do is up to you. But because I have artifice armor, I do have 2 solar resistant mods on. Now when it comes for my leg armor, I am running the exotic Star Eater scales, and what this allows you to do is once your super is fully activated, you can pick up orbs of power to overcharge your super, meaning once that bar is full, you can pick up to 4 extra orbs, and that'll overcharge your super. That way you do increased damage. And I'm pairing that with better already. Your health begins to regenerate immediately after picking up an orb of power, and strand weapon surge and kinetic weapon surge. Like I said, we're going to be using our strand weapon for DPS most of the time, so taking advantage of a strand weapon surge when we pick up an orb, that's very important. And kinetic weapon surge, that way when we're using malfeasance, all that extra damage is also going to help. And again, that's when you pick up an orb of power, you will get those buffs. Then when it comes to my cloak, we're running time dilation, 2 of those mods, and it says your decaying armor charge has longer duration. So again, we're trying to squeeze out every last bit we can when it comes to these armor charges. When we pick up these orbs and we use it for extra damage, we want to have that as long as possible. And then bomber, which reduces grenade cooldowns when using your class ability. So that's actually before we round it out. We are going to need a barrier mod, as you can see here, to be able to stun barrier champions. So make sure you go to your artifact slot and then get this one right here, anti-barrier auto rifle, because if you don't get this, you won't be able to stun barrier champions. So just make sure you have that on. But other than that, that's going to round it out for the loadout. So we're going to get into the gameplay now. Now here you can see this is the start of the Lost Sector, and pretty much when you spawn in, just throw these rubbing grenades down and use pretty much everything besides your dodge. You can see I use my melee, I threw my throwing grenades, then malfeasance is going to help clean up these enemies, generate orbs, pick those up, get your armor charge up, and if you have a tangle like I did, throw it towards the right side here where this wizard spawns, and then just prioritize killing the wizard first. You can drop a decoy like you saw me do there, that way the enemies focus on it. and then just pick them off with Malfeasance. I do recommend staying on the right side, just because if you go to the left, then that barrier champion is going to spam you with solar damage, and you don't really want to be taking that much damage from that. It's because solar is increased damage taken from it. And you can see I'm just taking these acolytes out as they spawn, and again, I'm doing it pretty easily here. Get rid of these acolytes, and then once you've reached the point where there's no more acolytes and it's just the barrier champion, make sure you save your dodge. That way, once you kill the barrier knight, you can use it on the light bearer. So you can see here, we're just going to keep doing damage with Malfeasance. I'm going to switch over to the auto rifle just because I'm trying to, pre-aim it, touch pre-fire. That way I can break the shield. Once you break the shield, I'm going to switch back to Malfeasance. You can use heavy, but I just opted to save it for the second room because that's, in my opinion, where this is just becomes the most annoying lost sector ever, with the 2 ogres, the light bearer, and then a barrier knight that may be there if you don't kill them in the little hallway before it. But you can see I saved my abilities here, and I have my dodge, put it there. That way when the light bearer spawns, they're going to focus on the dodge, and then you can solely just use your LMG here to do damage. You can see you get those crits, and I was just trying to get a finisher off, get the finisher, destroy the ghost, and again, that whole first room is pretty easy following that strategy. Now when you go here, you can kill the barrier knight if you're fast enough when it comes to this, and also the RNG if like he strafes right away, or if he does here and he goes to the left, whatever happens. You can see I was lucky enough to get him to stun right there. Then I just take my Malfeasance out, keep hitting crits, do increased damage, and then just keep going for it. You can see he does end up backing up, but I already had him pretty lit, and I knew he was going to end up bringing his shield out anyway. So I just reloaded, throw my melee, finisher, get him out of here. Now here's where it does become pretty annoying, and you have one of 2 options. You can either do what I did, and that's sit back here and be safe, or you can run forward into the room, and on these left and right hand sides there's going to be like crawl spaces. But I just opted to sit back here, and I threw my decoy down. That way the AI could kind of focus on that, and then I was going to try to get rid of these ogres, but you can see I started picking off other AI like acolytes. And again, one of these ogres is going to be a normal ogre, and one of them is going to be a unstoppable champion. Here the light bearer is also spawning with the solar damage. But I do want to note what I did a couple seconds ago, which was shooting my decoy. If you have the decoy and the enemies don't do enough damage to break it, that will result in it just disappearing. However, if you shoot it and you break your own decoy, you are going to cause the Threadlings to spawn. That way you kind of get like free damage pretty much, so just keep that in mind when it comes to using the decoy. But here you can see I got the unstoppable champion here. I'm trying to stun it with my Malfeasance, and then switching over to my heavy here. You can use your super if you're using the strand one like I have, but I've just opted to save it for the final room just so you can see how easy it is to clear it once you use a super there. But you can see, get rid of the unstoppable champion here. I was pretty lucky that he kept pushing. I've had several instances where he would just back up, go to the back of the room, heal, and then come back. But after you get rid of all those enemies, the last annoying one really is the light bearer here. I was getting super annoyed with the grenade spam and the popping supers and everything you can see. And you really don't want to get hit by it just because the increased solar damage is going to be pretty annoying. You can see I'm breaking my own decoy, that way the Threadlings can do some damage. Throwing my Threadling grenades off the wall so they can, ricochet and stuff. But that's probably the most boring part, is just, trying to pick your spots and do increased damage with your heavier if you have the chance to do it. You can see I'm doing some decent damage here. I switch over to Malfeasance and then end up finishing it off around here. And again, once you get him, make sure you get that ghost, that way he doesn't respawn. There was a couple times in my prior recordings where I forgot to get the ghost and he would respawn, and I was like, there's no way I have to do that again. But you can see once you get rid of him, it's pretty smooth for the rest of the room. It's just a couple acolytes, nothing too big here. You may have Thrall if you didn't kill them already, but you can see, just make your way around. Be very careful though, because the solar damage can take you out. Now that we've cleared it out, we're going to make our way now towards the back here. And this is going to lead you to the boss room, so we're almost done. And once you go through this little corridor, I guess you can call it, right here on the left, you're going to see a bunch of Thrall, which are praying or whatever. You can see I'm at Feast of Light ×2. I wanted to get some kills, that way I get Feast of Light times 4 by picking up 2 more orbs. I put my decoys so they would all follow it, and then I pop super here on the boss. That way I can, you know, shred him pretty fast. You can see with my super. And then I was trying to get the barrier champion, however I was like, I'm not going to push my luck. Put another decoy down and run towards where I came from. And you can see I do start to get a little overwhelmed here, so I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to back up to be safe. And again, threadling grenades. This door will occasionally close if you get like a certain distance away from it. So try to be as close as you can without taking too much damage from these enemies if this is what you're going to do. But you can see I'm just sending shots down at the barrier knight. Getting rid of some of these acolytes as well. Pushing over to my heavy. And you can see here, I almost just threw that whole damage phase right there on the barrier knight. You can see it took my heavy back out. Just send some shots down there, try to obviously hit the crits. Then I'm switching over to my auto rifle. Boom. Then use my melee, throw some threadling grenades around. You can see right there we end up getting the kill, and I was like, I did not come this far just to die, so I'm gonna play this super safe and just back up, play it a little slower. And then you can see that I think that's pretty much it, actually. Yeah, so we make our way up here, and then we're gonna end up opening this chest here, and it's gonna give you your loot. And that's pretty much how you can get it done. You can see I did it within 7 minutes and 13 seconds. So if you found this useful, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell so you don't miss another video. In the future, I will have a full playlist for all the lost sectors, and they'll be popping up now. If you're watching this on day 1, obviously it's only going to be this video, but come back in the future and there'll be other ones. So I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.